Hi, I'm personal trainer YUJI.
Strengthening the lower abdomen is probably one of the most popular areas in muscle training. But what exactly are we doing this for? What is the purpose? The most common reason for wanting to strengthen the lower abdomen is the desire to reduce its protrusion and make it flatter. This leads us to focus on training the lower part of the rectus abdominis. Of course, the fact that the lower abdomen protrudes indicates that there are issues related to the district, and of course there are problems with body fat. The presence of body fat means that there is a lot of subcutaneous fat accumulating below the navel, which makes it appear protruded. Naturally, this subcutaneous fat needs to be reduced. Another issue is visceral fat. There can be a lot of body fat around the intestines within the rectus abdominis, which can push against the rectus abdominis from the inside. This situation can occur, and of course, to reduce visceral fat, it is essential to engage in some form of daily activity. Without addressing these aspects, there are certainly issues that will not be resolved. This clothing, referred to as jopping lower part, is designed to create a balloon-like effect on the inside, expanding under pressure. This pressure causes the lower abdomen to appear more protruded, regardless of whether there is an issue with body fat or not. If the pressure is directed outward, the lower abdomen will look even more pronounced. Therefore, it is beneficial to have sufficient muscle strength in the lower abdomen to keep it pulled in. This is why it is advisable to perform exercises that strengthen the lower abdomen, such as those targeting the rectus abdominis, especially for middle-aged individuals. There is another reason why one should strengthen the lower abdomen. Well, this is another reason. To be honest, it feels a bit like saying there are two reasons when there are really just one for women and one for men. But that's how it is. When combined, it makes two reasons. Now, in the case of women, many lack strength in their lower abdomen, which can lead to a downward pressure effect. This is often because women tend to have more lordosis, and many of them have a lack of strength in this area. In such a state, it is quite common to develop lordosis and be prone to lower back pain. Many women tend to have a more protruding lower abdomen. In this situation, it can appear somewhat extreme, like this. Interestingly, there are quite a few people who walk around in this condition. It's not a joke. There are indeed many people walking like this. When this happens, the hip joint remains in a certain position while walking. Many people injure their hip joints. Therefore, when someone injures their hip joint, they may not know the cause. Sometimes, it may seem like nothing significant happened to cause the injury. However, for some individuals, a lack of strength in the lower abdomen can lead to a tilted pelvis. When the pelvis tilts, the lower abdomen can become engaged, and if someone walks with a certain posture, it can create pressure on the femur, which can lead to hip joint pain. Strengthening the lower abdomen can help lift and stabilize the pelvis, potentially preventing such injury. By opening up, we can create a situation where the hip joint is positioned forward, allowing the pelvis to be adjusted almost as if it is being lifted. This adjustment enables the front of the pelvis to open up, allowing for a posture that maintains this lifted state while opening the area. For this, women need to develop strength in the lower abdomen, specifically in the area below the navel, which is crucial for stability. Another reason for this is related to men. If there is no strength in the lower abdomen below the navel, urination can take a long time. Yes, urination can be quite prolonged. Generally speaking, it can be a bit embarrassing to discuss this issue, so it's not something people often talk about. However, since this is online, I hope people will feel free to ask questions in the comments. In reality, when I go to public restrooms, for instance, when I attend my child's soccer games, I sometimes find myself in the restroom with people of the same age or even younger, around 40 years old. But generally, it tends to take a long time. It can be quite lengthy. The long reason behind this, I think, is partly because the person may not be aware of it. The length refers to the fact that if there is no muscle strength, the tank is there and water is accumulating in it. It's just that the faucet is open and water is flowing out slowly due to gravity. This can take quite a long time. While being long isn't necessarily bad, what about children? Children tend to be much quicker. The reason they are faster is that when they open the faucet, they apply pressure to squeeze it and the water shoots out. Of course, this is a natural phenomenon. In a different context, the pelvic floor muscles are involved in lifting from below and turning this upside down. While this is also necessary, I will introduce it at another time. For now, I want you to focus on strengthening the lower abdomen by applying pressure and practicing the shooting technique. To achieve this, it is essential to strengthen the muscles in each area. You know, children naturally engage their muscles from the navel. They can easily practice closing off while urinating, pulling in and tightening as they do so. This is something anyone can do. This means that if one is unable to do something, it doesn't matter if urination is prolonged or not. However, young people, including children, are starting to lose abilities that they used to have. We want to avoid this decline as much as possible. Therefore, to help restore these abilities, it is important for individuals, especially men, to strengthen their lower abdomen. Recently, I came across an article mentioning that even young women are facing similar issues. The cause of constipation is often due to a lack of strength in this area, which makes it difficult to push things out, leading to a buildup of stool and resulting in constipation. Therefore, it is essential to strengthen the lower abdomen. Today, I would like to lightly demonstrate how to engage the muscles for training the lower abdomen. First, it is crucial to properly use this area. Before we even think about how to train it, we need to be able to consciously engage the area below the navel, as I mentioned earlier. Even if you try to tighten the muscles to control urination, you may not know how to apply that strength effectively. Therefore, it is essential to first learn how to engage those muscles properly with your body. So, let's start with that. I think this is basically the same as how to do basic crunches, but your lower back usually follows this curve, right? Can you see the gap here? There is a space along this area. You need to crush this gap. You crush this space and then return. Crush and release. Crush and release. When you crush this gap, the pelvis will rise. When you crush it, the tailbone will rise. Please touch the area below the navel, around the midpoint. Use your fingertips to touch and press down. When you crush it, the tailbone will rise. Is it hard? Below the navel? Touch it and repeat this a few times. Once, intentionally arch your back, and while arching, try to crush this gap. When performing abdominal exercises, try to exhale a little and then compress while exhaling. The goal is to see at least some lift. Right now, my sacrum, which is the sacral bone, is fully lifted, while only the lower back area is compressed. This means that the area below the navel is completely firm. It's important to confirm this firm state. To be able to control this freely, focus on applying strength here and hold it. I want you to create this awareness to the point where you can lift the pelvis in that order, so please practice this repeatedly. If you are unsure whether you can tighten and harden it, practice this many times. Do it hundreds of times or frequently. First, confirm this. I understand. I can feel it from the navel. Once you realize that all the muscles are indeed engaged, next, while keeping your knees at a 90-degree angle, you can raise the pelvis a little higher and do the same thing while touching this area. I don't think it's going up very much. It might be hard to see from your perspective, but right now, my coccyx is raised about 1.5 centimeters and the sacrum is finally raised about halfway. This exercise involves positioning the thighs diagonally, but it's not about using the weight of the legs to pull the hip joint. Instead, it's about pushing without pulling the hip joint and using the technique I mentioned earlier to raise it. Without changing the angle of the hip joint, I will express this character vertically upwards. This practice should be done quite a bit, not just vertically with the legs, but also in this vertical expression. It can be quite challenging. The abdominal muscles can be quite tough. Just a small movement of about 1 centimeter, or depending on the person, place it on the ground and first exhale. Practice inhaling lightly, then exhaling. I think it's fine to do this exercise 10 times. You can repeat this as many times as you want. First, ensure that you can do this reliably. Being able to extend 1 centimeter is definitely achievable, and once you can do this, let's move on to holding onto the bench while extending your legs. Extend them as vertically as possible. If you're stiff, your legs might bend a little, but hold onto the bench with your extended knees and apply the same technique to improve your skills. It's exactly the same, and I'll fix this a bit here, but whether you push slowly or quickly, there's a difference. When you do this, make sure your knees don't bend. That's different. When you extend your knees, lift them up. Slowly, slowly exhale. Good. Slowly exhale. Slowly exhale. Now I'm demonstrating with exaggerated larger movements. To be honest, I'm strong. Because I'm strong, I can lift quite a bit. So now, there is no particular need to raise it this high. I made it a bit larger so it's easier to see. It's enough to raise the tailbone by just 1 centimeter. It only needs to go up a little. Just exhale while holding it and do it slowly. Exhale and hold it slowly. Make sure to exhale and hold it while controlling the descent slowly. Even just this can be quite challenging, and it's perfectly fine to consider this as a single exercise for recovery. Now, we have gone through the sequence. In the second round, the second stage, and the third generation, we finally reached the fourth stage, which is the leg raise. Well, it's fine to hold on to this. You can hold it, so just like before, You can use your arms and sides as needed. From the position where your legs are extended from below, we will perform the same top movement from here. Starting from this position, we will begin. You can see the top as well, and then slowly return from here. Start by creating a state where you are already elevated. Begin from here and start explaining. It means to lower yourself slowly. Doing this while talking is extremely tough. Moreover, I've been doing this continuously for a while now, and it's really challenging. Also, be careful. The movement isn't just about the hip joint alone, and it doesn't mean that you only elevate at the end with your arms in this area. It starts from a horizontal position right from the beginning. From the beginning, you need to make an effort to incorporate this movement. It may be difficult at first, but the effort to do this from the start is crucial. When you do this, you will feel the pelvis moving and the legs lifting. The legs lift because the pelvis moves. It must be vertical and should not deviate to the side. If it comes off vertical, that would be incorrect. Now, we have gone through the usage of the lower abdomen from the first stage to the fourth stage. Please move on to the next task only after you have successfully completed the current one. If you move on without clearing it, everything will become a mess, and ultimately it won't be beneficial. Therefore, make sure to clear one task before moving on to the next. You should be able to perform one task correctly at least 10 times before progressing. It's okay if it takes time. Take your time. So please clear each task one by one. By doing this, you will effectively strengthen your lower abdomen and address the issues mentioned earlier. This will become necessary as you enter your teenage years, so let's make sure to strengthen this area properly.
Please subscribe the channel and follow my Instagram and X. I hope to see you next time. ありがとうございます。